Every single business, whether it's a tiny startup or a massive global corporation, is wrestling with the same big question. How do you innovate, not just to get ahead, but to actually survive for the long haul? How do you manage your technology, your projects, your big ideas to make sure you don't get left behind? Well, that's what technology portfolio management is all about, and today, we're going to break down the playbook. All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll figure out your core strategy. Then, we'll dive into how to build the right mix of projects. After that, we'll tackle the scary part, navigating huge technological shifts, and how to avoid the classic traps that have taken down giants. And we'll wrap it all up by thinking about the bigger picture, the real purpose behind all this innovation. So, first things first, we have to start with the single most important decision any company makes when it comes to innovation. Seriously, this one choice sets the stage for everything else. You've got to ask yourself, are you the one setting the pace for the whole industry, or are you focused on mastering a specific corner of the market? And this isn't just some fancy label, it completely defines your approach. Leaders have to commit to those huge, long-term, industry-shaping goals. Followers, on the other hand, can absolutely crush it by focusing on short-term wins and small, smart improvements. And this matrix here, it just lays out the whole trade-off so clearly. If you want to be a leader, you're playing the long game. You're aiming for those groundbreaking, radical innovations that can span across multiple markets. But if you're a follower, you zero in on a niche, you make steady, incremental improvements, and you work on a much shorter timeline. Your entire strategy lives somewhere on this map. Okay, so once you know who you are, leader or follower, the next question is, well, how do you actually do it? This is all about building the right mix of projects and, frankly, putting your money where your mouth is. Let's talk radical innovation. I mean, this is the stuff of legends, right? The real game changers. We're talking about things like the first smartphone, the invention of the internet, things that create entirely new markets out of thin air or just completely blow up existing ones. It's high risk, sure, but the reward is massive. This is the playground for market leaders. And then you've got incremental innovation. This is the art of perfection. It's all about making what already exists better, faster, stronger, cheaper. This is the bread and butter for followers. They are masters at optimizing and refining. It might not be as glamorous, but it's often way more predictable and absolutely vital for success. Now, this framework from Wheelwright and Clark is an absolutely brilliant tool for getting a handle on all your R&D projects. It helps you map everything out and see what you're really working on. Are you aiming for a breakthrough that changes both the product and how you make it? Or are you just creating a slightly different version of what you already have? A healthy company needs a mix, but the balance of that mix, that depends entirely on whether you're a leader or a follower. And here's where the rubber really meets the road. Your strategy has to show up in your budget. A market leader might pour, say, 20% of its R&D money into those high-risk radical moonshots. A follower, on the other hand, would be smart to put 0% there and instead pump 70% into those reliable, incremental improvements. There's no single right answer, but your spending has to match your ambition. All right, let's shift gears and talk about one of the absolute scariest moments in any company's life. That moment when your core technology, the thing that made you successful, starts becoming obsolete. See, every technology follows this S-curve. It starts slow, takes off, matures, and then it declines. The truly terrifying part is that gap between the end of your current technology's curve, T1, and the beginning of the next big thing, T2. Do you stick with what you know and milk it for all it's worth? Or do you take a massive leap of faith into the unknown? Jump too early and you could crash and burn, but jump too late, that's a guaranteed death sentence. So how on earth do you manage that terrifying leap? Well, one really clever way is a hybrid strategy. Just look at what Toyota did with the Prius. They didn't just ditch gasoline engines and go all in on electric. No, they built a bridge. They combined the old tech with the new tech. This let them learn, experiment, and get ready for the future, all while still relying on the stability of what they already knew. It was a brilliant way to manage risk. And that idea of jumping from one curve to the next leads us straight into one of the most famous and honestly most important concepts in all of business strategy, something the great Clayton Christensen defined. It's this wild paradox that explains why so many incredible companies end up failing. To put it simply, it's the trap of being too good at what you already do. You listen to your best customers, you give them exactly what they ask for, you keep perfecting your product, and you do it right up to the very moment that the market decides it doesn't care about that stuff anymore. And then, bam, some disruptive competitor comes in with something totally new and changes the rules of the game overnight. This is the dilemma in action. It's the perfect picture. Nokia was the undisputed king of mobile phones. They were masters of incremental innovation, better battery life, tougher phones, better keypads. They were doing everything their customers said they wanted. But meanwhile, Apple wasn't just improving the phone, they were completely redefining what a phone was, all around a brand new feature, the multi-touch screen. They weren't just serving existing customers, they were creating a whole new kind of customer. And the Segway is another classic cautionary tale. It was a technological marvel, an incredible piece of engineering. The company was totally obsessed with the how, but they completely lost sight of the what. What problem were they actually solving for people? They pushed amazing technology just for the sake of technology, and the market basically just shrugged. So how do you avoid these traps? How do you jump the S-curve without falling and escape the innovator's dilemma? Well, you have to build a very special kind of company, one that can do two completely different things really well at the same time. You have to become an ambidextrous organization. Think of it like being able to use both your hands equally well. One hand is for exploitation. This is your core business, what pays the bills today. It's all about efficiency, execution, getting better and better at what you already do. But your other hand is for exploration. This is your future. This is about taking risks, experimenting, being flexible, and figuring out what's next. You absolutely need both to survive. I mean, just listen to this quote, supposedly from a Nokia executive after everything fell apart. It's haunting, isn't it? It's the perfect summary for a company that mastered exploitation but completely forgot how to explore. They were so good at what they did that they simply couldn't see that the world had moved on. Okay, for our final piece, we need to zoom out a little. We have to elevate the conversation. Because a truly sustainable long-term strategy isn't just about profits and market share. It has to be about the impact we're having on the world around us. So take a look at this. This is called a life cycle analysis. And what it does is it forces us to be really honest about the total cost of our products, not just the price tag. It looks at everything, from the raw materials we pull out of the ground, to the energy used to make it, all the way to what happens when someone throws it away. It's a framework for accountability. And that idea of responsibility is captured so powerfully in this quote from Pope John Paul II. It's a challenge to the very idea of endless consumerism. It reminds us that our amazing ability to create and to innovate, it's not a blank check. It comes with a profound responsibility to be good stewards. It makes you ask, are we creating things of real, lasting value, or are we just feeding a machine of consumption and waste? And so that's what it all boils down to, really. The playbook we've talked about can teach us how to innovate, how to manage our portfolio, how to stay ahead of the curve, but it can't tell us why. What is the real point of all this progress? Is it just to make the next cool gadget? Or can we aim higher? Can we innovate in a way that serves not just the market, but serves humanity, serves the planet we all share? Now that is the real innovator's dilemma.